but who shall change our vile body, that it might be fashioned like unto his glorious body. So like Jesus could do all these remarkable things in his new body, pass through walls. Even the disciples saw him going off into the clouds of heaven. So kind of disappearing and reappearing and doing all of these incredible things in his new body, this new resurrected body, that the saints of all ages are going to have at the second coming of Jesus Christ. But not quite so for those who didn't want Jesus Christ in this life. They will be, it will be then the resurrection of the unjustified. So, in that sense, being resurrected, in that you're still in your human body, though your human body will not be quite fashioned like unto Jesus' glorious body. So it's not always black and white in any of this, and so let's go into the idea of incarnation. In that, let's say, if you go into this time of year, because these verses tend to come up, they come up less these days. And one that comes up, which really does talk about the incarnation of Jesus Christ. Well, the incarnation of Jesus Christ would obviously strongly suggest, and is so, that he had a former life and is a God. In fact, is God in the flesh. Jesus Christ coming to earth in human form is actually God in the flesh. In the beginning was the Word is of course Jesus, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And then it goes on to say, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory as of the only begotten of the Father. So it's the only Son that God had. You hear about these various incarnations. And some of them even call themselves the Son of God. And a lot of them would even teach that there's been various sons of God, and Jesus is just simply one of these sons of God. But actually the only Son of God is Jesus Christ. And so let's go into Micah chapter 5, verse 2. And to attempt, without rehearsal and such, but to put this into more perspective, a better perspective, as best you can as a human being, of course. Obviously, it goes a lot deeper than any mortal tongue can tell. As it says in some of these little songs, the love of God is greater far than any tongue can ever tell. It goes beyond the highest high and reaches to the lowest hell. The love of God is greater far than any pen or tongue, in fact, can ever tell. It goes beyond the highest high and reaches to the lowest hell. This is how deep and high, the very depth and height of the whole thing is beyond. Where you get a sense of eternity, even in this verse here, though it might come up at Christmas time, less these days, of course. And so it says, now this is prophecy written before even Jesus was born here. So let's say incarnated here, the incarnation of Jesus Christ coming as from another realm, being the Spirit, in fact, God himself coming to earth in the form of his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. So God leaving, Jesus leaving, the Son of God leaving his the very courts of heaven, you might say, the heavenlies of the heavens and so on, and coming down to this tiny speck in a vast universe, on earth, and merely becoming a helpless child wrapped in swaddling cloth, his arms and his legs, and his tongue tied. So quite the love of God is greater far than any pen or tongue can ever tell. It goes beyond the highest high and reaches to the lowest how. Wow, reaching to the lowest how might be very fitting these days, because this world is becoming a hell of a place. So, but thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah. So Jesus coming out of a form of obscurity here, a tiny little town, and there appears to be thousands of them in Judah. But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, remember this, that, behold, the heavens of the heavens cannot contain thee. This is what we're talking about, coming to earth. Behold, even the heavens of the heavens cannot contain thee, cannot contain God. You can't put God in any box. Behold, and this is how vast and deep and wide and broad the whole thing is. Behold, the heavens of the heavens cannot contain thee, much less this house which I have builded, said Solomon. Well, here's Jesus not coming down to earth, not in a stable, but in a palace, but in fact, actually, God coming to earth, not into the temple that Solomon built. I mean to say, Solomon builds this temple for God, a house of God, for God to dwell in on earth in this symbolic sense. And Solomon saying, even the heavens of the heavens cannot contain thee, much less this house of God, this apparent house of God, which Solomon built for God to, in the same symbolic sense, dwell in. Well, here's God coming to earth into this tiny little obscure town, one of the thousands of Judah. But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee, so not only out of a little tiny town, but also born in a stable, not in a palace. So it's coming from a form of a palace in the spirit world, and coming to a tiny little town. Not only a tiny little town, but born in a stable and found lying in a manger. A manger was actually something they used to feed cows out of. So a manger would have been full of the slobber of cows as they would chew on their corn or whatever they were feeding them in those days, as in a manger. Clear that out. Nowhere else to stay, so clear that out, put some straw in there. And not much time to do anything else other than to lie him in the manger. The baby was now due, and so there wasn't much time. So into the stable they go and do what they can with what they've got, and all they had was a tiny little cow trough, to put it to put it more bluntly, which they cleared out and quickly, no doubt, perhaps filled with straw or whatever, and put a blanket in there and laid Jesus in the manger. Lay this incarnation of this God himself coming to earth, don't forget, wrapped in swaddling clothes. So God in the heavens, a mouth, no doubt, to give 1,000 commands to talk amongst the heavenly hosts, the angels out there, and plenty of conversations and cancelling amongst them. And suddenly he comes to earth, and his tongue is tied. He can't speak one word. And his arms that would command a multitude or 1,000 or 1,000,000, 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of angels ministering unto him in the spirit world. And suddenly his arms are tied, his tongue is tied, his legs are wrapped, his whole body is wrapped in swaddling cloth. He's a helpless, hopeless, tiny little child, born in a stable, laid in a cow's trough, in a tiny little town, one of the thousands of Judah. Here he is on earth. So But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, that yet out of thee shall he come forth. Now Jesus isn't going to grow up to be a man. Shall he come forth unto me? So this is God giving his only son to the world. Shall he come forth unto me? That is to be a ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. So here's kind of a sense of the incarnation of Jesus Christ. His goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. He's coming from everlasting. He's coming to earth, to a lifespan, and his lifespan here would only be 33 years. The lifespan of man is on average 70. And if by strength he goes on to live more, then doing well in so doing. But Jesus' life would be cut short at the age of only 33. So given a lifespan on earth of only 33 years. So whose goings forth have been from everlasting,